No,
do?
no, no. Yeah, I mean, I wake up and I fight people.
Yeah.
That was Mark Zuckerberg. In March 2026, he paid $170 million for a mansion on Indian Creek Island, a record for Miami-Dade County. The house was not finished when he signed, so what did he buy and why? This is the inside of Mark Zuckerberg's $170 million Miami mansion, the deal that broke Miami's record. This is 7 Indian Creek Island Road. Today it belongs to Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan. But the story of how it got there starts with a patch of empty land and 2 sellers who bet everything on a single buyer showing up. In 2020, a vacant lot on Indian Creek Island changed hands. The land had once belonged to singer Julio Iglesias, and it sold for around $30 million. The buyers were Dr. Aaron Rollins, founder of the AirSculpt cosmetic procedure company, and his wife Maureen Rollins, a real estate agent. They did not buy the lot to live on it. They bought it to build something they could sell, what the industry calls a spec home. No client, no committed buyer, just a plan, a designer, and the belief that if they built at a certain level, someone at the top of the world's rich lists would want it. The build took years. The costs ran into tens of millions beyond the land price. What rose out of the ground was a limestone mansion of nearly 28,000 square feet, with around 200 feet of frontage on Biscayne Bay. In November 2025, the Rollinses put it on the market. The asking price, $200 million. Instantly the priciest listing in Miami-Dade County. Then the rumors started. For weeks, the real estate world traded speculation about who was circling Indian Creek. Reports pointed at Zuckerberg, but at the wrong address. Early rumors tied him to a home near Jersey Mike's founder Peter Cancro, and other reports suggested he was targeting multiple properties on the island. Nobody outside the deal knew which house. Nobody knew the number. Think about what the Rollinses were carrying through those weeks. They had spent years on this project. The land cost $30 million. The build added tens of millions on top. A spec home at this level has a buyer pool you can count on 2 hands. And if none of them bites, there is no plan B. Every week of speculation was a week of waiting to find out whether the bet of their lives would pay off. In early March 2026, the answer landed. The deal closed at $170 million. That was $30 million under the asking price, and still the most expensive home sale in Miami-Dade County history, surpassing the previous record of $120 million. Hold both of those numbers in your head, because they tell 2 stories at once. The $170 million says the gamble worked. The Rollinses' vision found its buyer, and the sale rewrote the record books. The $30 million discount says something else, that even at this level, the buyer held leverage. Negotiating with one of the most powerful and private figures on the planet is its own kind of pressure. One buyer, one chance, and a counterparty who can walk away from anything. The transaction itself tells you something about the world it happened in. It was handled off-market and closed quietly. No open houses, no press tours, no confirmation until the record surfaced. That is how deals work at this level. Discretion first, headlines later, and here is the part most people miss. When Zuckerberg signed, the house was still under construction. He did not buy a finished mansion. He bought a vision, renderings, plans, and a structure still being completed. That changes the nature of the purchase. He was not paying for marble he could touch. He was paying for what the property would become and for where it sits. For the Rollinses, the sale was the payoff on a multi-year gamble. They had poured capital and years of work into a property with no guaranteed buyer, and the buyer who showed up was one of the most powerful people on the planet. For Zuckerberg and Chan, it was the start of something else, a foothold in a place built for people who want the world kept at a distance. One bridge in, one bridge out. A record price for a house that wasn't done. The numbers alone made headlines around the world, but the numbers are not the story. A $170 million purchase is a series of decisions: what to buy, who to buy from, and where to plant a family. Each of those decisions has a reason behind it. In order to understand why anyone would pay $170 million for an unfinished house, we need to take a look at what is actually being built inside it. Opulence with secrets. This is the face the house shows the world, a classical limestone-clad exterior rising behind a palm-lined courtyard. But the real fascination of 7 Indian Creek Island Road isn't what you can see from the water, it's what's hidden inside. Start with the raw scale. We're talking about nearly 28,000 square feet of living space, with 9 bedrooms and as many as 15 bathrooms, a private residence with the footprint of a boutique hotel. The waterfront side is pure Miami fantasy, roughly 200 feet of Biscayne Bay frontage, a resort-style pool of 60 feet or more with its its own cabana, and a 135-foot dock built to handle superyachts. Sprawling terraces and fire pits spill toward the bay, and massive glass walls dissolve the boundary between indoors and out, so the water feels like part of the floor plan. The architecture is engineered around seamless indoor-outdoor flow. You could drift from a marble interior, across a terrace, past a fire pit, down to a 135-foot dock, and step onto a superyacht without ever feeling like you left the living room. On an island ringed by water, that's not just a design flourish, it's a lifestyle thesis. The bay isn't scenery here, it's an extension of the house. But now for the part that sounds like it was lifted from a spy novel. Somewhere inside this house is a concealed two-story library, complete with a secret passageway, not a reading nook. A hidden double-height chamber of books, deliberately tucked out of sight, with its own clandestine route in and out. It is pure James Bond fantasy made real in limestone and timber, and for a man whose every public move is dissected, debated, and screenshotted, a hidden room you control completely might be the single most honest feature in the entire estate. Think about that for a second. In a 28-square-foot palace stuffed with showpieces, the most coveted space might be the one nobody is supposed to find. The theatrical streak doesn't stop there. Between the kitchen and the dining room, the plans call for a 1,500-gallon aquarium, acting as a living, glowing divider, a wall of water and fish where most homes would settle for drywall. There's a private jazz lounge for intimate evenings, the kind of room designed for low light and lower voices. And the wellness program reads like a 5-star spa brochure. A spa suite with a Himalayan salt wall sauna, a steam room and a massage and hair salon, alongside a gym and media and recreation rooms. Add it all up, and the design philosophy becomes clear. This is a house built so its owners never have to leave. The resort vacation, the night out at a jazz club, the spa day, the gym session, the movie theater, every experience the outside world offers has been replicated inside the perimeter in a more luxurious form, with zero exposure. For most homeowners, that would be indulgence. For one of the most recognizable men on the planet, it's closer to infrastructure. Look at these amenities together, and a pattern emerges. These aren't just toys, they're emotional armor. The hidden library is intellectual refuge and control. The aquarium and the jazz lounge are romance and family theater, awe-inspiring spaces for kids, quiet corners for escaping boardroom battles. The spa suite is decompression engineered into the floor plan. Every headline feature doubles as a retreat from a world that never stops watching. Strip away the price tag, and what you find underneath is something startlingly relatable. A parent who wants their children to grow up somewhere magical, and a couple who want at least one place on Earth where they answer to no one. And hovering over all of it is one tantalizing piece of suspense. The house was still being built when Zuckerberg bought it, which means what we know comes from plans and renderings, and what the finished interior actually becomes. Once a new owner with bottomless resources starts customizing is still an open question. Will the aquarium survive the redesign? Will new hidden rooms join the library? The secrets of this house may multiply before anyone ever sees inside, and given who now owns it, the odds of a public tour are roughly zero. But a house like this doesn't simply happen. Every hidden door, every salt wall, every sheet of glass was one man's obsession before it was anyone's home. In order to understand how this place came to exist at all, we need to take a look at the designer who willed it into being. The man, WHO, built the masterpiece. Behind almost every legendary house, there's a name whispered in design circles. Here, that name is Ferris Raffaelli. Raffaelli is a Canadian architect and designer, and on this project he wasn't just one voice among many. He was the full creative force, handling the architecture, the interiors, the landscaping, and the overall vision. One mind, one aesthetic, carried through from the shape of the rooflines down to the gardens that frame them. That kind of total control is rare in projects this size, where architects, decorators, and landscape firms usually divide the work and divide the vision with it. Here, there was no committee to dilute anything. It's exactly what gives the estate its eerie coherence. The courtyard speaks the same language as the staircases. The gardens echo the stonework, and nothing inside it feels accidental. If his name rings a bell, it should. Raffaelli is the designer behind Drake's Toronto mega mansion, famously known as the Embassy, and he has built homes for hockey legend Wayne Gretzky. His signature is unmistakable. Classical royal grandeur. Limestone facades, grand proportions, dramatic staircases unfolding beneath skylights, fused with modern luxury and total sensory immersion. He builds houses that feel less like residences and more like institutions, places designed to outlive their owners' headlines. His stated philosophy is opulence that arouses all the senses, but opulence held in check by discipline, so the result reads as power rather than excess. Now imagine executing that philosophy on Indian Creek. This wasn't a blank canvas in open countryside, it was a years-long construction saga on a tiny, ultra-regulated island, a place where every truckload of material crosses a single guarded bridge, and every decision answers to one of the most exclusive municipalities in America. Within those constraints, the ambition only escalated. The plans include details like a 38-foot skylight crowning the interior, with dramatic staircases unfolding beneath it, the kind of feature that demands extraordinary workmanship, custom materials, and a tolerance for problems most builders never face. Every element had to be fabricated, ferried across that one bridge, and assembled under the watchful eyes of the most security-obsessed village in Florida. Years of that. Detail after detail, with no shortcuts available and no appetite for compromise. And there was drama baked into the process itself. Remember, this began as a spec home. The Rollinses were betting tens of millions that Rafali's vision would be magnetic enough to pull in a buyer from the very top of the global wealth ladder. That is crushing pressure. Every choice had to be spectacular enough to justify a 9-figure price tag, yet restrained enough not to scare off the unknown billionaire it was secretly being built for. Designing for a client you can talk to is one challenge. Designing for a phantom buyer whose tastes you can only guess at is another entirely. The hidden library, the aquarium, the jazz lounge, each one was a calculated wager on what the world's most discerning buyer might secretly want. Rafali's involvement is arguably what elevated the project from ambitious spec home to genuine icon, and when the buyer turned out to be Mark Zuckerberg, the gamble was vindicated in the most public way possible. There's a deeply human thread running through this too. Rafali has built his reputation on creating enduring icons, structures meant to last, to carry weight, to mean something decades from now. And his clients, whether rappers, athletes, or tech founders, are all chasing versions of the same thing. A legacy in stone, a sanctuary that reflects who they are and shields what they love. It's an old human instinct dressed in new money, the same impulse that built family estates and dynastic houses for centuries, now expressed in limestone on a Florida island. A designer who sells permanence, meeting a generation of billionaires desperate for it. That collision is what produced 7 Indian Creek Island Road. And consider what the sale itself did for the legend. Rafali's previous claim to fame was Drake's Embassy. Now his name is attached to the most expensive home ever sold in Miami-Dade County, purchased by one of the most famous people alive. The Rollinses got their record, Zuckerberg got his sanctuary, and Rafali got the kind of validation no marketing budget can buy. Proof that his houses don't just impress, they command 9 figures from buyers who could have anything. But here's the thing about this masterpiece. You could lift it off its foundations, drop it on any other waterfront in America, and it would lose half its meaning, because the house is only part of what Zuckerberg paid for. In order to understand the other half of that $170 million, we need to take a look at the island itself, the fortress they call the Billionaire Bunker. The Billionaire Bunker. This is the only way in. Indian Creek Village is an island with just 41 residential lots, connected to the rest of Miami by a single guarded bridge, and the nickname it has earned tells you everything. The Billionaire Bunker. Geography is the first layer of defense. This is a small, man-made island, sitting in Biscayne Bay, wrapped on every side by open water. There are no through roads, no public beaches, no sidewalks for onlookers. If you are not a resident, a guest, or staff, there is simply no reason, and no way, for you to be there. The bridge isn't just infrastructure, it's a filter. Everyone who crosses it is expected, logged, and watched. The security here goes far beyond a gate and a guard booth. The village maintains its own police force and its own marine patrol, watching the land and the water around the clock. Reports describe fortress-grade measures including radar and thermal cameras, sweeping the perimeter of an island most people will never set foot on. Paparazzi can't drive by. Protesters can't gather outside. Even the curious can't get close. For residents, the bay itself becomes a moat, and the moat has its own dedicated patrol boats. And then there are the neighbors, because on Indian Creek, the resident list reads like a power summit. Jeff Bezos has reportedly spent more than $234 million assembling multiple lots into an expanding compound. Not just buying a house, but accumulating territory, lot by lot, on an island where territory is mathematically finite. Tom Brady is here. So are Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. 41 lots. And somehow they've concentrated a staggering share of American wealth, fame, and political proximity onto one man-made island in Biscayne Bay. Sports royalty, political dynasty, and now two of the defining tech founders of a generation, all sharing the same few acres of reclaimed land. Even the run-up to Zuckerberg's purchase proved how impenetrable this world is. For weeks, professional real estate reporters with deep sources chased the story to the wrong addresses, unable to pin down which house, which seller, which price. On most streets in America, a $170 million transaction would leak instantly. On Indian Creek, the information perimeter held almost as well as the physical one. That too is part of what residents are buying, which makes Zuckerberg's exact choice of address fascinating. Of all the properties he was rumored to be circling, the one he closed on sits just doors away from Bezos's growing compound. Two of the most powerful tech founders alive, separated by a few waterfront lawns. Is that the beginning of an alliance? Barbecues and back-channel conversations between titans? Or a quiet, subtle competition, compound versus compound, dock versus dock? Nobody knows, but the proximity alone has fueled endless speculation, and it transforms the island into a stage where the next chapter of tech titan drama could play out behind thermal cameras. 41 lots is a small enough world that rivalries and alliances don't stay abstract. These people will share a bridge, a shoreline, and a police force. Whatever happens between them, it happens at close range. Step back, and the emotional logic of the bunker comes into focus. These are people who live with genuine threats to their safety, their families, their privacy, and clustering together on a guarded island is, at one level, a rational response to a dangerous level of fame. The richer and more visible you become, the smaller the list of places where you can simply exist. Indian Creek is what happens when the people at the very top of that problem pool their resources and buy the solution outright, but it cuts the other way too. An island of billionaires ringed by radar, patrolled by its own police, sparks uncomfortable debates about elitism, inequality, and the ultra-rich escaping the societies that made them wealthy. The same walls that keep danger out also wall off accountability, and critics have noticed, when the world's wealthiest people retreat behind a single guarded bridge, the optics right themselves. So the bunker is both sanctuary and symbol, the safest neighborhood in America, and one of the most controversial ideas in American wealth. And that raises the biggest question of this whole story. Zuckerberg already had compounds, estates, and privacy money can buy. Why this island? Why now? In order to understand why he planted his flag in Florida, we need to take a look at the forces pushing billionaires out of one coast and pulling them toward another. The Great Migration to Miami. Mark Zuckerberg buying in Miami isn't an isolated splurge, it's a data point in a much larger story. A tech exodus out of California and into Florida, drawn by a combination most billionaires find irresistible: no state income tax, and a culture built around privacy. For someone whose wealth is measured in hundreds of billions, geography is strategy. Where you live is a financial decision, a security decision, and a political statement all at once. And over the past several years, founder after founder, fund after fund, has run that calculation and arrived at the same answer: South Florida. And to really decode what this purchase means, compare it to the property Zuckerberg is most famous for. His Hawaii compound is far larger, a sprawling, self-sufficient estate reportedly built with underground bunkers, the architecture of doomsday preparation, and deep privacy paranoia. That estate says, the world might end, and I'll be ready. The Miami mansion says something completely different. It's polished, social, and waterfront, less fortress, more refined power base, a jazz lounge instead of a bunker, a super yacht dock instead of a ranch gate. Hawaii is where you go to disappear from the world. Indian Creek is where you go to host it on your own terms. The fact that Zuckerberg now owns both tells you he isn't choosing between withdrawal and engagement. He's building infrastructure for each. This is a home built not for hiding from the world, but for hosting a carefully chosen slice of it. There's a family story threaded through it as well. Strip away the zeros, and the desires driving this purchase are ones almost anyone can recognize: safety, legacy, and a forever home where kids can grow up away from paparazzi and protests. For Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan, raising children under one of the brightest spotlights on Earth, an island with its own police force, isn't just a status symbol. It's the closest thing to a normal backyard their family can have. The universal pull toward home and security, expressed at a scale only a handful of humans will ever reach. Even Zuckerberg's own descriptions of his daily life keep circling back to the same anchors. Mornings with his kids, training to clear his head, the search for equilibrium under relentless pressure. The mansion, in that light, light, is less a trophy than a container for the version of his life he's trying to protect. But that scale is exactly why the purchase has become a lightning rod. Critics have called the deal tone-deaf excess in an era of global inequality, a $170 million house landing while Meta itself weathers layoffs and intense public scrutiny. The very opacity that made the deal possible off-market, discreet, confirmed only after the fact, feeds a deeper unease about how the ultra-wealthy move money, claim territory, and avoid scrutiny. Florida's rise as a safe haven for billionaire wealth raises its own questions about what gets left behind in the places that wealth abandons. Does a house like this inspire aspiration, envy, or resentment? The honest answer is all three, depending on who's looking across the water at it. So where does that leave the story? With one final layer of suspense. The mansion was still under construction at the time of purchase, and its interiors are still being finalized, meaning the most expensive home in Miami-Dade history is, in a sense, still becoming itself. New details will leak, new renderings will surface, construction crews will keep crossing that single guarded bridge for months to come, each truckload carrying another piece of a home the public will likely never see finished. And the relationship between the island's two most famous tech neighbors will be watched like a season finale, every yacht docked, every permit filed, every fence raised, scrutinized for meaning, because in the end, this was never just a real estate transaction. It's a chapter in the modern saga of power, privacy, and the very human vulnerability hiding beneath immense wealth. A man who built a platform that watches billions of people, spending $170 million on a place where no one can watch him. The empty lot became a record. The record became a fortress, and behind one guarded bridge in Biscayne Bay, the next era of the billionaire bunker has officially begun. If you want more deep dives into the hidden worlds of the ultra-rich, click on any of the cards on your screen.